I don't care who wins up there. I frankly probably would do better with the Liberal than the Conservative.
Things are nonstop around here. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got Danielle Smith coming out with a list of demands for Alberta that she gave to Mark Carney. It essentially craps all over Mark Carney's net zero agenda, putting the prosperity of Alberta first, not last, as it's always been here in Canada. We also have Pierre Poilievre blasting the Liberals on their horrid immigration policies that have destroyed Canada. Let's jump into this. Starting off this episode, we're on Polymarket here. We're seeing Conservatives here still leading 52% to 47% on the popular vote. Unfortunately, this is not the most important graph. We've got this one here. You can see Mark Carney now is taking the lead here, 56.2% for the party with the most seats in Canada. This one here, you're seeing Carney soar up to 60% for next Prime Minister of Canada. I have no idea what to say. I guess Canadians want more suffering. They want to be ruled with an iron fist. This won't go on though. There'll be referendums, whether it's Alberta or Cpac. People will leave. The country will collapse. So if Canadians want this, they can vote for that. But we're not done yet. The election hasn't even started yet. So yesterday, Danielle Smith met with Mark Carney and she made a list of demands that need to be met within 6 months, or she said there's going to be a national unity problem. And I think this is the case. Albertans will really probably go to a referendum to vote to separate. Alberta's been getting screwed over far too long. So here's Danielle Smith's demands, and then we have Pierre Poilievre from his press conference. He was asked about this. Guaranteeing full access to unfettered oil and gas corridors to the north, east, and west. Repealing Bill C-69, the No New Pipelines Act. Lifting the tanker ban off the BC coast. Eliminating oil and gas emissions cap, which is a production cap. Scrapping the so-called clean energy regulations. Ending the prohibition on single-use plastics. Abandoning net zero mandate. Returning oversight in industrial carbon tax to the provinces, halting federal censorship of energy companies. This is, wow, Danielle Smith coming out here swinging. Stuff like these clean electricity regulations, we have those in BC too. I mean, the BC NDP were found to be money laundering through a company called MNP for writing the contract. MNP was essentially writing the contracts, but also approving who got accepted into the program and taking a kickback from it of 20%. So you have companies like Edison Motors who would apply for this, and then MNP would deny them, and then MNP would say, hey, if we write the contract for you and take 20%, then we'll approve you. So while to some people who don't pay attention, the clean, green energy stuff sounds nice, politicians are just laundering our money and stuffing their own pockets off this crap. So I love to see this Danielle Smith just laying it down thick. She also said, I made it clear that Alberta, as an owner of the resource, will not accept export tax or restriction of Alberta's oil and gas to the United States, and that our province is no longer agreeable to subsidizing other large provinces who are fully capable of funding themselves, says Smith. She is talking about Quebec. Quebec has been virtue signaling for so long. The Bloc Québécois is a eco-green party, essentially. They love to take Alberta's dirty oil money, but they don't want to have anything to do with climate change. Lastly, it made it clear that federal mismanagement of Jasper and Banff National Parks resulted in last year's tragic wildfire in Jasper and is endangering Banff, and the situation must be rectified immediately. Danielle Smith absolutely slamming the federal government. So we go over here, we got Pierre Poilievre, who's asked about this. This is his response.
Mark Carney was in Edmonton yesterday to meet with Danielle Smith. Shortly after the meeting, Smith put out a list of demands for the next Prime Minister, including, among other things, ending the prohibition on single-use plastics. She said if these demands were not met within 6 months of the new mandate, there would be a national unity crisis. Are you willing to commit right now to meeting the demands that Premier Smith has enumerated?
I think Premier Smith's demands are very reasonable. You'll have to see the rest of our platform roll out in due course. But she was making clear that Mark Carney's using weasel words. He's pretending that he suddenly, 30 days before an election, changed his entire radical net zero, keep it in the ground ideology. Mr. Carney, I can't even believe he would have the audacity to show up in Edmonton. He opposed the Northern Gateway pipeline in a committee testimony while his company was buying pipelines in the Middle East. That pipeline would have created jobs for Edmontonians. It would have been a boom for Northern Alberta. And all the money that would have rushed into Edmonton would have created opportunities. And he opposed it. It's on the record. He supports carbon taxes in Canada while he invests in American coal. Yesterday, his environment minister confirmed that the energy cap will stay in place if the Liberals are in office. You know, despite the fact that they're trying to put on this mask last minute before the election, make no mistake, a fourth Liberal term will be exactly like the previous 3. It has been the lost Liberal decade. Do we want, this is the question Canadians are going to have to answer, do we want a 4th term of Liberals who block resources, tax our people, drive up our costs, unleash crime in our community, and make us weak and defenseless facing the Americans? Or do we want to put Canada first for a change?
So Pierre is on board, clearly, with what Danielle Smith is putting out here. Is Mark Carney on board getting rid of his net zero agenda? I don't think so. I mean, he's already mentioned it once here in the last week that he's been prime minister. Canadians, the West votes are not even counted when election comes. The East determines the leader. They always pick Liberal. I hope the Liberals win and we get annexed. That might happen, but what Danielle Smith is saying, the national unity here, is there will be a serious vote to have Alberta separate from Canada, which would destroy Canada. Now, technically, all the provinces have a vote in that, but say if 80% of Albertans want to join America, do you think Donald Trump is just going to let other provinces vote that down? This is getting pretty extreme, but I mean, our situation is extreme. Everything seems unfathomable, but really, is it? I mean, our government has been found to be laundering and stealing hundreds of millions of dollars, yet Canadians don't seem to care about that. They care about the orange man in America. Like literally hundreds of millions of dollars they funnel into their own bank accounts, and they're fine with that. Their hard-earned tax dollars getting ripped off. I don't understand people. There's a demographic in this country that seems to be brainwashed and can't think for themselves. Spot on, Pierre. Canadians have to make a choice. Next up, we got Donald Trump stirring the hornet's nest here again, saying that he'd rather liberal and not deal with a conservative. Says he doesn't care about Canada or the situation in Canada at all.
I think I've heard you say this in all of the talk about Canada becoming the 51st state. Are you concerned that if they became the 51st state, they would be a very, very blue state? Very, very big and very, very blue.
No, there might be, but it would, you have that artificial line that goes, that straight artificial, that looked like it was drawn by a ruler. Somebody with I don't mean a ruler like a king, I mean like a ruler, this way. And just an artificial line that was drawn in the sand or in the ice. And and can I tell you, Peter, just you add that to this country, what a beautiful landmass, the most beautiful landmass anywhere in the world. And it was just cut off for whatever reason. It would be great. Now, is it liberal? Maybe. But, a conservative until I got involved, because I don't care who wins up there. I frankly probably would do better with the liberal than the conservative, if you want to know the truth. But just a little while ago, before I got involved and totally changed the election, which I don't care about, probably it's to our advantage, actually. But the conservative was leading against, I call him Governor Trudeau. The conservative was leading by 35 points. So, so I don't know about that. I think Canada is a place like a lot of other places. If you have a good candidate, the candidate's going to win.
So interesting there. He's pulling off the stats. He knows exactly the situation going on in here in Canada, the polling data, all that. And he's right. Carney gets in. He's going to walk all over him and his net zero agenda. And whether he annexes Canada or not, I don't think he wants a big blue state up here. I think he just wants to make a trade deal that's terrible for Canada, because we have to make a trade deal at some point, or a country completely collapses and America takes advantage of Canada. That's what I think is what's lining up here. So if liberals want Canada to get completely taken advantage of from America and Donald Trump, vote for Mark Carney. That's what you're going to get. All borders are artificial lines, you bozo. That's not true. In China, they literally have the Great Wall of China is their border wall. So there are places that have border walls. In Canada, it's a big cut in the forest. That is our border walls. There's a big line. It's 20 or 30 feet wide to cut down trees. That line keeps schools safe and Canadians free. Okay. So I agree, in America, they have a much bigger problem with their schools and pew-pews, but Canadians are not free. Let's get real here. More people talking about the borderline. I mean, down in America, they have an actual border, a big steel border down there. So hands off, Canada's our own country. I mean, he's going to make a really bad trade deal for Canada by economically squashing us. And it's because Mark Carney is too weak to deal with Trump. He's terrified of him. He hasn't even gone and met with him or talked to him, called him. If that says anything, the guy's been prime minister a week. He won't even talk to Trump. Pierre Poilievre coming out with another press conference today. So check out this. This is his environmental plan. This is great.
And so what I'm saying is let's bring down global emissions by bringing production back. Get rid of the industrial carbon tax and bring in a tax reward for businesses that produce steel, aluminum, cement, fertilizer, and other commodities below the global emissions average. So it's a global problem with a local solution. And that solution is to bring home our production and paychecks by repealing liberal taxes, liberal anti-development laws, and opening up our economy to the world so that we can bring down pollution. That's how you...
This is a great idea. You incentivize a cleaner production, but you don't punish Canadians for making money and building business and building GDP in our country. Once again, another great policy plan here from Pierre Poilievre. I'm sure Mark Carney in a couple days will rip this off because Mark Carney has no new ideas of his own whatsoever. That's all the Liberals are good for, is ripping off ideas of others and then not following suit on them. From the same press conference, we got Melissa clipping this one. Pierre Poilievre talking about cutting foreign aid. This is not the first time he's mentioned this.
This is common sense. And we're going to pay for all this by cutting bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, and waste. Like I said, more boots, less suits.
Cut all that foreign aid, just wasteful crap. This is what I like to see from Pierre. Next up, we got Pierre Poilievre absolutely destroying the Liberals on their horrendous immigration, which has destroyed our country, essentially. The Century Initiative is specifically the question he gets here. So just to context, David Wiseman is being brought on by Mark Carney, who's a big fan of the Century Initiative.
Earlier this week, Mark Carney added Mark Wiseman to his list of advisors on Canada-U.S. relations. Mark Wiseman was the co-founder of the Century Initiative, a lobby group that wants to bring Canada's population to 100 million people by 2100. Can I get your reaction to that? And what do you think, how do you feel about the idea of rapidly expanding Canada's population to reach 100 million by the end of the century?
Well, it shows that the Liberals would be no different in a fourth term than they were in the first three. The Liberals destroyed our immigration system in their first three terms in power. They followed a radical globalist ideology of massive, uncontrolled population growth, put strain on our housing market, our healthcare, and our job market. Now, corporate elites like Mr. Wiseman and Mr. Carney loved it because it drives wages down. It takes jobs away from our workers in numbers that we can't replace by growth in the job market. But it's terrible for our working class. And by bringing on Mr. Wiseman, it shows that Mark Carney supports the Liberal Century Initiative to nearly triple our population to 100 million people. We voted against the Century Initiative in the House of Commons, and the Liberals voted for the Century Initiative unanimously. That is the radical Liberal agenda on immigration. We will get back to moderate, reasonable levels of immigration. Our country was built by common sense immigration, but we need to ensure we grow the housing supply, our health care, and our jobs faster than we grow our population. And so I will reject the Century Initiative and get back to common sense immigration that brings people to Canada in numbers that we can hire, that we can house, and that we can care for. That was the best immigration system in the world, and we're going to bring it home again.
He's right. We had the best immigration system in the world, and the Liberals ruined it. They used it to get rich. They all had real estate they wanted to jack up. How much real estate's in Justin Trudeau's real estate development company? Still don't know. Probably will remain a mystery. How much real estate does Mark Carney own? Don't know. These guys want to keep bringing in more people and making life miserable for everyone, and they're going to get stinking rich off of it. It's like we're all living in a bad dream. It just doesn't end. It's just on and on and on. And half the population is brainwashed and just going along with it. Like, this is unbelievable. So I'm going to get back to showing more of these kind of clips because this is what's going on in Canada. More home invasions.
York Regional Police are searching for suspects tonight after a home invasion robbery. And in this case, the thieves made off with a high-end vehicle and didn't bother opening the garage door. After smashing through the garage door, the vehicle plowed through a gate at the end of the driveway. Sean O'Shea has more on a brazen heist, all caught on camera.
Early Tuesday morning here in Thornhill, as many as 4 suspects involved going over and under the fence out front, entering the home, confronting the male and female occupants. They gave the key to the Range Rover to the thieves, who started and prepared to leave.
Ultimately, car keys were obtained. The suspects made their way into the garage of the residence, and unfortunately, one of the vehicles was stolen.
The thieves didn't wait for the garage door to open. They crashed right through it.
We believe that the suspects started panicking when they were within the garage. They were unable to figure out how to get the garage door open.
And they bashed through the large front gate too, abandoning.
This is so dumb. These criminals are so stupid. So they steal a car and then they damage the car on the way out. Like, you're reducing the value of what you just stole. Like, are these criminals liberals? Like, come on.
The vehicle nearby. Dramatic security video shows those auto thieves stealing the car by driving it right through the victim's garage door.
I don't really have an answer for how these poor victims could have protected themselves any more than they did.
One of the owners of the home told
I got an idea, like in America where people are allowed to defend themselves. If someone breaks into your house, you can take them out. out. How about we bring that into Canada?
Told us on the intercom the thieves punched her husband before obtaining those keys. She didn't want to appear on camera and asked us not to use her voice. Neighbors say what happened is frightening.
So sad. It's really scary. It's becoming scary, yeah.
I think it's just the state of things are just changing in this in our society.
I heard sirens, but I didn't think it was this close to home.
Police have not made arrests and are appealing for more video. Even with high security precautions.
This is awful. I bet you all those people are going to vote Conservative because this is in Thornhill, which is a Conservative riding. Do these thugs target Conservative ridings, or are they mugging Liberals as well? I mean, the amount of people that are supporting Carney, you really got to wonder. A thief doesn't punch you in the face, threatens you, and takes something by force. It's called armed robbery. These people should be in jail for 40 years for this. Next up, we got Doug Ford here. He's questioned about some report that Toronto Star put out saying that Pierre Poilievre was begging Doug Ford for endorsement, which is a false fake story. No surprise there.
You had a call on Monday with the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre. How would you qualify the tone of that discussion, and why are you not endorsing him in the upcoming election?
Well, first of all, it was the first time I ever spoke to him. And I guess what was reported is not accurate at all. He didn't ask me for help, and he didn't, so I don't know where they came up with that story. I just, I want to see how each leader is going to protect Ontario. Are they going to get the Ring of Fire moving forward? Are they going to get out of the way and make sure that we get into the critical minerals? You know, times have changed now. We're in an economic war with the largest country in the world, and we have to get to those critical minerals as quickly as possible, and it can't take 20 years to get those critical minerals out of the ground.
This talk coming from Doug Ford, I mean, it's very clear he wants to work with Pierre Poilievre because he knows that's not going to happen with Mark Carney.
We say Alberta's oil is our critical minerals, and that's how we're going to fund everything. And the world wants them. We have them, and we have to get them refined and out to the open market, no matter if it's chromite or chromelin or nickel or gold or platinum. It's the largest deposit of critical minerals in the entire world, and we just keep duplicating assessments. So hopefully the federal government will come out and say, yeah, we'll get out of the way, one assessment, one window, and let's move forward.
He knows long-term as premier, he needs to have those critical minerals be pulled out and Ontario be prosperous. And if Carney comes in, that ain't happening. Net zero, everyone's going to be riding their bikes and snowshoeing to work. That's not going to happen. There we have it. What is going to happen in Canada here? If Mark Carney wins, will we see a referendum from Alberta trying to separate? Will Donald Trump completely embrace Alberta? Will we see a divide? Will we see Canadians leave Canada? This is a tricky situation. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's only one way that Canada heals and gets fixed, and that's with Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada.